Greetings all. The Everest season is off to a peculiar and deadly start. As many of you know already, 3 Sherpa lost their lives in the icefall. They were from the Imagine Nepal team, and they were on their way up through the Khumbu icefall to fix the ropes above Camp 2 to the summit. It is a very unfortunate start to the beginning of the Everest season. I have talked to some who feel as though it has cast a pall over base camp. The most unfortunate and probably the strangest thing for many people to understand is that even after there is a death on the mountain, the business of climbing Mount Everest goes on. While the death of these 3 men have changed many lives throughout the Khumbu region, where families are now mourning, the ropes still need to get fixed toward the top. I have an interview with you today with the CEO of the Sagarmartha Pollution Control Committee. And my original intent of the interview was to talk primarily about the garbage and human waste situation on the mountain. But given these events, we did talk about the icefall and fixing the ropes to the summit and what the status is over there. The owner of Imagine Nepal is Mingma G, and on his Instagram page, he lists the photograph of the 3 gentlemen, friends of his, who lost their lives. And it is so sad, it's actually almost too much to even read it or watch it. The names of these gentlemen are Pemba Tenzing, Lakpa Rita, and Dawa Seri. In a future story coming up very soon, I'm going to talk a lot about what happens to these families after many times the main breadwinner in the family dies, and what happens to them in the months and the years that follow, and to their children. I have a really cool interview coming up that I think will give a lot of you optimism and hope that there are people out there who care about this and really do want to make a difference in the lives, not just of themselves climbing the mountain, but in the Sherpa and the mountain workers who make it possible for people like me to go there and climb the mountain. And as all of you know, that there has been an accumulation of waste, human waste, and garbage in and around and on Mount Everest as a result of the proliferation of mountaineering over several decades. And now this also includes many, many thousands of trekkers each year. And it's really because of the climbing style has changed over the years, and the ethics that emphasize summiting really with not much regard for environmental concerns. The sheer volume of climber days at base camp and higher on the mountain has really put a lot of pressure on the mountain. And so, as some of you have seen, I have a video that I did 1.5 years ago or 2 years ago with Musa Masala, an organization that sponsors me, and we did a forum about what's being done to curb the human waste and garbage problem on Mount Everest and in the region. And I'm going to put a link to that video in the notes and description of this video. But today I'm going to bring you an interview with Tshering Sherpa. He is the CEO of SPCC, and they are the Sagarmartha Pollution Control Commission, and they're an NGO. So this is not a governmental organization. This is a privately funded organization that operates on grants and also by charging permit fees for people who are actually using the fixed rope, because the SPCC manages and hires the Icefall Doctors who fix the lines from base camp all the way up to Camp 2, which is what we refer to as advanced base camp. Camp 2 is at about 21,000 feet or 6,400 meters. It's actually a little bit higher than that, but that's a camp that is actually permanently installed in the mountain, where there are full-time cooks and staff that manages each expedition's climbing team. So when a climber coming up from base camp or coming down from higher camps will always have some access to warmth and food and things of that nature. I have to say that in my interview with Tshering Sherpa, we do talk talk about the problem of human waste and garbage above Camp 2, but I have to point out that the SPCC is only responsible, if you will, their jurisdiction is only up to Camp 2, and everything above that takes a buy-in from all the expedition outfitters and the people climbing the mountain. So it's my intent, by doing more interviews like this and talking about it, that more and more people become aware of it, and that expedition companies and organizers take it upon themselves to either hire a team or have a staff of Sherpa or high mountain workers that is there specifically to clean the mountain, or for there to be some other agency organized to go and monitor it and ensure that there are penalties and fines for companies that are leaving things behind. One of the stories that Damien Benegas told me about in my video about the garbage and human waste problem was that there are people actually cutting the company logos out of tents and then abandoning those tents up at high camp, which is at 26,000 or 8,000 plus meters. And so this is a serious problem, and it continues to accumulate. Now, granted, it's very cold up there. There's not things being leached into the drinking water up there, but this is a small area where lots of people are going to be going every year, hundreds and hundreds of them. And as it accumulates, it only gets worse. Before we get there, if you enjoy what you see and hear on this channel, please tell people about it. Consider subscribing, and also consider becoming a member. And now for my interview with Tshering Sherpa from his office in Namche Bazaar. It would be wrong of me to talk about anything outside of the events that just took place on Everest. Is there any information you can give me about the horrible accident that I've heard about that just took place in the last 24 hours in the icefall?
It was an unfortunate incident for us. It was happened yesterday. We are lucky as well in terms of that it's not our team, not an Icefall Doctor team, but we are very unfortunate that three Sherpa from Khumbu region, they have been killed in Icefall section between the place where it is called Dam area. Big serac was collapsed and they were under serac. So till today, they haven't found any bodies from that accident. And it's just the beginning of the expedition season. So it creates some kind of bad message as well as some kind of discourage the expedition team as well.
So, yeah, I would imagine that it's going to change the trajectory of the whole season, and in terms of where the route goes. Has there been talk about more helicopter loads getting ferried in? Granted, these were the gentlemen fixing the route from Camp 2 and above, but has there been any movement on that? I'm just out of curiosity.
So normally those who were killed in yesterday's incident was from the Imagine Nepal trek. That trekking agency is responsible to set up the route above Camp 2 and summit, up to summit. So they were on the way to carry some goods for setting the route. And I've heard that all the gears and the ropes, they are going to airlift from base camp to Camp 2 by heli. I've heard that they are on the process of taking permission to fly the heli up there. But still, they haven't got any permission, I think. So they are on the process. So yesterday incident was like those Sherpa were carrying other goods, I think.
Sharing the role of the SPCC is very clear to many of us who go there frequently. But for those who are unfamiliar with the SPCC, could you tell me a little bit about what it is that the organization is doing, Icefall Doctors, and then the cleanup and the garbage situation?
So this SPCC is the NGO, local NGO, which was established in 1991 with the patron of our late Tengboje Monastery Rinpoche. And since then, this organization is working the management of waste overall the Khumbu region. Beside Khumbu region, this organization also work on mountain section as well.
Mm.
So in Khumbu region, we have two sections. One is the local settlement area and mountain. So we are responsible for managing garbage from mountain as well as local settlement. And beside that, we also work on icefall route setup work. So it's also been a long time. I think since 1994, I think since 1994, we have been working there as a route setter there. And our team are also very popular as a Icefall Doctor team. So those team lead our route setup activity in Icefall section, which is between Everest Base Camp and Camp 2.
Sharing. So for an individual, let's say that there's somebody from Australia or the United States and they're joining a climbing expedition. How do they learn about the waste management, and does each individual have to contribute a certain amount of money to finance and help the SPCC do their waste management and on the mountain?
Yeah, in mountain, especially in expedition, we charge certain amount of service fee for managing the waste. So in terms of that, those who are climbing mountain, they are contributing directly as well.
Yeah.
And recently, we have it's been 2 years now. We have launched one Carry Me Back project where the individual trekkers can contribute by volunteering to carry the waste down to Lukla from Namche. So it is kind of volunteer service. So this way also the individual trekker who are only doing trekking over there can contribute uh, for what is it, socially responsible trekkers. Yeah.
So in terms of the human waste, not the garbage, that the human waste is carried out. Could you just kind of explain how that works and where you're at now, and if
So normally what we do is in terms of Everest Base Camp, we just collect the human waste in the drum and we carry it down to Gorakshep. Between Gorakshep and Lause, we have some area we have selected which is far from glacier and water sources where we dump that human waste as well as kitchen waste. This side we normally select and we dig the hole and put that and compost it. And every year we change the location as well. So it is kind of natural way to manage the human waste over there. So it is only up to base camp, but we have a big challenge of human waste above Everest Base Camp. So above Everest Base Camp, we don't have such a proper system to managing human waste and also bring down the human waste, which is dumped above Everest Base Camp. We don't have any system still, not yet. So it is kind of big challenges. As you know, that you are also a climber. More than 1,000 or 2,000 people climb every year Everest, and above base camp, most of the people visited there, and they generated a lot of human waste up there as well. So it's, till date, all those human waste are dumped up there. So it's a big challenges for us as well. Yeah.
Another thing that is kind of troubling is I mean, obviously, if there's a storm up high and human lives are in danger, you have to leave your equipment up on the mountain. But is there any rules set in that enforce any expedition organizer or independents to remove tents, say, from Camp 4? The question always comes up about oxygen cylinders in the bodies. Is there any policy or anything set for how that's handled? Is there any that the SPCC wants to direct?
So normally above Everest base camp. The camp 2 is the next best camp. So they have a permanent camp in camp 2, as you know that.
Yep.
So when they are coming back from camp 2, when they are clearing their campsite, our team, SPCC team, go there and monitor the whole area, whether they have left any garbage there. So up to camp 2, we are working like that. So, but above camp 2, mostly, as you know, that camp 4, the South Col is the major point where people have dumped a lot of garbages, because that's the last point where you have to push the summit. And most people, those who go to summit, they could not manage to get back even safely. So most people left their belongings up camp 4. So we have a big challenges of that, how to bring down the waste from camp 4, because even the Sherpa people, those who are guiding and the climbers, they could not manage to bring everything what they have carried up. So that's the major issue we have. Yeah. What recently the Nepal Army, as you know that recently the Nepal Army are doing cleaning campaign every year in Everest. So they try to buy the garbage. Those who bring from camp 4, camp 2, they give a allowance based on where they bring the garbage. So like that, in some extent, they have able to collect some waste from there. But the waste management is a continuous process. It's not a one-time process. So until and unless those people, those climbers, those guys are not aware about the waste, we could not clean at all.
Thank you, Tshering Sherpa, for taking the time out of your day to talk to me about the situation on Everest and beyond. Look forward to hearing more from you as the season progresses. And given the ominous beginning to the season with the loss of the lives of 3 Sherpa, we can only hope for the continued safety of all the others that are on the mountain now and those that are arriving at the mountain. To all, be kind, take care of each other, guard your thoughts, be positive, and make the world a better place just by making your thoughts confident, positive, and non-judgmental. We have so much power with the thoughts that we empower in our minds. So if we keep them positive and keep them thoughtful and generous and kind toward other people, we can and will make this world a better place to be. In the meantime, I want to thank you for being here. It means a great deal that you watch my videos. Blessings to you. Have a good day. Peace out, my friends.